Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Bikes for Death podcast. As always, my name is Patrick, and I'm your host. And on today's episode, all roads lead to the East Texas Showdown. We are about 30 days away from 210 riders descending upon Point Blank, Texas at the Bullet Grill. And on today's episode, I'm joined by three East Texas Showdown experts. We've got Brendan, Kuya, and Emily here to answer your questions. So what we did is we sent out a questionnaire to everybody who has signed up for this year's race and gave them an opportunity to ask anything that they want. And then I brought in some experts who have done it before and are signed up to do it again this year. And we get them to answer your questions, and I chime in here and there and add my 2 cents from time to time. I cannot tell you how excited we all are over here at Bikes for Death headquarters. I can tell from all the emails and the messages that we're getting that you are excited too. A lot still needs to happen in the next 30 days, and we are feeling the pressure, but we are not worried. It is going to be a great event, and we are so looking forward to having everybody out to the Bullet Grill in just about 30 days. So today's episode, even if you're not participating in this year's event, I think you might still get some benefit out of it. We are just talking about the East Texas Showdown event, but we are going to be tackling topics like sleep strategies, how to charge your devices, how to deal with dogs, and a lot of other topics that I think are applicable regardless of what route you're doing. So even if you're not doing the showdown, but love bike packing, I still think that you can get a lot out of this episode. Of course, if you just want to go ride in any of these routes, this is also a great episode to listen to because we are going to be getting into the weeds on some of the routes. So in case you have completely missed it, I'll give you a summary of what the East Texas Showdown is. This is the third year that we've done it. The first year we had 50 people. The next year we had 100. And this year we opened it up to 200. And we actually were able to squeeze out about 210 participants for this year. And we have three categories. So we have the Showdown, which is 400 miles, and that's a traditional bikepacking race. We have the Slowdown, which is 280 miles, and it is still a race, but we have some fun awards for that one. Like the Pro Slow Award is our Lantern Rouge, and it is the most honorary position for the Slowdown. And then if you go too fast and you're the first one to the Bullet Grill, then you get the Faux Slow Award. So the Slowdown is a great middle of the road route that you can kind of take your time on. You can go pro slow. You can stop and smell the roses. You can camp for 8 hours, and you can still get back to the Bullet Grill in time for the hoedown. And of course, you can race it too if you want to. So it's kind of a free-for-all there on the Slowdown. And this year, we are adding a brand new event, which is the Lowdown. And that one is 170 miles. And this one is not a race at all. You are encouraged not to race. We are not going to take your time. And if you go fast, nobody's going to care. We're really promoting this as a group ride. You can ride it solo. You can ride it with a group, however you want to do it. But it's 170 miles. And the real appeal of that route is, one, it's a nice segue into bikepacking. It's a lot more obtainable of a distance for many people, which is great. But we're also going to be hosting a group camp at Ratcliffe Campsite this year. So me and the Bikes for Death team will be there on Friday night. We're going to have a bonfire and some beverages, and we're going to have a little bikepacking party out there in the woods. So if you're doing the Lowdown, that's just something to look forward to. We're going to prioritize having fun, having a good time, and enjoying the East Texas woods on your bikes. So that's a brief overview of what the East Texas Showdown event is. And a few stats from this year's event is we've got 75% men signed up and 25% women, which is actually up from 18% last year. Each year, we're seeing more and more women show up, and I hope that is a trend we continue to see. That makes me very happy. And this year, East Texas Showdown has gone international. We didn't just get our first international racer, we have 4 this year. So we have riders coming in from Mexico, the UK, Iceland, Canada, and Hawaii. Now, I know Hawaii isn't international, but you got to take an 8 or 9 hour flight to get here, so I'm going to count it anyway. It's crazy. I mean, we got people coming from all over the United States, all over the globe, all descending upon East Texas for this little event, and I couldn't be more excited. And if you are a fan of the podcast, there are going to be 13 past guests there at the East Texas Showdown that are racing and participating in it this year. I won't list them all, but there's going to be 13 stars from previous Bikes for Death episodes that are going to be there. So maybe if you want to get an autograph or something, get a selfie with them. That would be cool. Or maybe it would be awkward. I don't know. But they're going to be there, and it's going to be a good time. I'm really looking forward to it. I enjoyed this episode. It's always fun to get feedback from people who have participated in it, and it's exciting to hear what they did last year, what they're going to do this year, how it's going to be different, and it's just a whole lot of bike packing goodness. And also, if you are participating in this year's event, any of the 3 events, please stick around to the end of today's episode. It's pretty much mandatory listening. I'm going to get into the weeds with some details about the event this year, but for all of our listeners, I didn't want to put those at the beginning of the episode and bore you out too much. So we're going to save that for the very end. So if you're participating in this year's event, make sure to stick around to the end for some important East Texas Showdown news. But before we get to today's episode, let's take a moment to thank the people that made it possible, starting with our latest batch of patrons. First up is a name that I'm going to struggle with, but here, we're going to give it our best shot. We'd like to thank Mindaugas Urbontaitis and Julien Millan. Thank you all so much for signing up to be sustaining members of the Bikes for Death podcast. And we had one member increase their pledge this week. So we'd like to thank Corey Eichelberger for increasing his pledge. We sure do appreciate all our patrons. And if you enjoy these episodes and want to help me produce them, you can find out more over at patreon.com/bikes-or-death. I also want to tell you about a race that I'm going to be at later this year. So Travis Olson, who's the owner of Mountain Rides, would like to invite you to Grusk, which is on July 6th through 9th. The Gravel Up Spruce Knob, or Grusk for short, is a 4-day high mountain cycling festival held in the amazing Monongahela National Forest in West Virginia, taking riders up to the summit of Spruce Knob, the highest peak in the mountain state. And I will be traveling there to West Virginia to cover this event and chat with all of you amazing riders and celebrate in your accomplishments. And I am really excited to getting back there. I've actually ridden up Spruce Knob before, back in 2018, I believe. It was a pretty epic trip. Got stranded up on the mountain, and I had to bushwhack my way down through private property. It was pretty crazy. I ran out of food and water and cell phone service and everything else. But I'll probably tell that story later on whenever I record an episode for that. But I'm looking forward to going back, checking out that area. It truly is beautiful. And the great thing about Grusk is that they give riders of nearly every ability a course that fits the experience that they're looking for. There are a total of 6 routes for riders to choose from, all the way from a beginner-friendly 25-mile spruce experience all the way up to their monster 260-mile course. So there really is something for everyone. This is the 7th year for Grusk, and every year they grow it, and it's bigger and better every single year. The high mountain venue for Grusk is the amazing Spruce Knob Mountain Center, perched at over 4,000 feet on Spruce Mountain. Grusk offers camping, meal plans, bunk rooms, live music, a beer garden, and an amazing post-ride dinner. On course, riders will enjoy multiple aid stations with energetic volunteers, mechanic support, the amazing roads of the Monongahela National Forest, and a chance to ride the highest peak in West Virginia. Mountain Rides prides themselves on promoting the incredible riding in West Virginia along with the local mountain communities they pass along the way. They've worked hard to create an incredibly inclusive event, welcoming all riders to experience the beauty of West Virginia's high country and the sense of accomplishment of riding to the state's highest point. We really do hope that you will join us at Grusk this July. And for more details on how to register, you can check the show notes or head over to mountainrides.net. All right, and today's episode is also brought to us by Athletic Greens. I started using them because if you've noticed, food options have become increasingly faster and less healthy. Eating healthy these days can actually be kind of challenging. It can be a little bit expensive. It can be harder to find good and healthy options. And it can be harder to get the nutrients and the veggies that your body needs. So for me, I found that Athletic Greens is a great solution to help manage a healthy diet. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. I take mine every morning in about 12 ounces of cold water. And it's a great way to start the day knowing that I gave my body something really good to get the engine going. Now, to make this easy, and we want to make it easy, if you'd like to try Athletic Greens, they're going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/bikesfordeath. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/bikesfordeath to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate in daily nutritional insurance. All right, ching, ching, ching. The bills have been paid, and now it is time to get to my episode with Emily, Brendan, and Kuya. One quick note about this episode is that Brendan, he was our Pro Slow Award winner last year, and it was funny because he was the last one to join the Zoom call, and in true Pro Slow fashion, his internet was also running slow. He kept cutting out and freezing up and stuff, and so we're going to patch this bad boy together as good as we can, but if things on Brendan's side get a little wonky, apologize, technology, what are you going to do? But we're just going to power through it, okay? All right. And now, before we get to today's episode, let's have Miles Arbor kick it off with the Bikes for Death theme song.
You load up your bike, you ride away from home. You could be with your friends or you could be alone. You ride for a day or maybe more. You just love being in the great outdoors. Everything you need is strapped to your bars, including that new pillow you got from Santa Claus. And then you think, oh shit, to yourself. You left that super lightweight tent on the living room shelf. Bikes for death. Bikes for death. Podcast.
All right. Well, first off, thanks for y'all all coming on to answer some questions. All these questions were submitted by participants for this year's race. So either the Showdown, the Slowdown, or the Lowdown. And instead of me just answering all the questions, I thought I'd get some help from people who have done it. And all three of y'all are signed up. You've done it before, and you're also signed up to do it this year. So I think that y'all are great people to speak to these questions, and it takes a lot of pressure off of me. So if y'all get anything wrong, it's not my fault. Fair?
Yeah.
Perfect. They're all like, yeah. So first off, let's just do introductions. Kuya, let's start with you. Let's do name, where you're located, and what bike are you riding in this year's event. And actually, let's do what event you're doing this year, too. I just thought of that. Let's cover all the bases.
All right. So my name is Kuya Takami. I'm originally from Japan, but right now I'm located in Austin, Texas for the last 5 years or so. And that's why I met a lot of people, friends who are doing I guess first showdown event. And then I heard all the good things. So I decided to try it out last year, first time. And it was also my first time ever bikepacking event. In my cycling, and I come from road racing background, and so last year I tried Showdown, and then this year I'm doing Showdown as well. And my bike of choice, I'm changing up. This year I'm riding actual gravel bike from Bolt Cutter. It's called High Country, but yeah, so that's me, I guess.
Yeah, that's good. All right, Emily.
So I'm Emily Miller. I'm originally from Philadelphia, but I live in Houston, Texas now. So I'm the closest that we have to a local on this podcast. I'm super lucky to get to ride in the Sam Houston Forest pretty regularly. I've lived here for about a year and a half, and I came from mountain biking, I guess. That's sort of the first serious cycling I got into. So 30 miles is a really long distance on a mountain bike. So 280 was super scary. I did the Slowdown last year, but kind of treated it as a fun, not race. So did it with a couple friends, slept a fair bit. And this year I'm signed up to do the Slowdown, and I have no intention of sleeping, which is super scary. I'm riding a Trek Checkpoint. It's the same bike that I rode last year. But last year I had just gotten it 2 weeks before the race because I broke my other gravel bike. So this year I have a lot more time and saddle miles on that bike. So I still the one that I love, but hopefully it will be not so new to me.
Sweet. Nice. All right, Brendan.
Brendan Hare. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, but I now reside in Bentonville, Arkansas. Last year I did the Slowdown, and I thought I was ready for it, but I was pro slow, so it took me a little longer than I had hoped. This year I'm doing the
Oh no.
If I finish 2 hours ahead of where I finished last year, I'm stoked. All right. And I'm much better trained this year. I'm doing it on my brand new Rodeo Labs Flanimal, which is an amazing bike. Last year I rode my Salsa Deadwood with 2.6s on it, and it was a steamroller. It was so slow. I mean, obviously it was very slow. So
Right.
I will be back for the after party. I promise.
Good. Yeah, you can't miss it this year.
Nope.
We mostly got most of that, Brendan. We're gonna let that slide.
Okay.
I think your internet's starting to do better. I think your internet is warming up.
There we go. Awesome.
So we kind of covered some of this, but Kuya, we'll start with you first again, and then we'll switch to Emily for the next one. But what event did you do last year? If you placed, what was your placement or whatever? Which one are you doing this year, and what differently are you going to do this year?
Oh, what differently? It's a lot of list of things I'm gonna do differently. So last year I did Showdown, and this year I'm doing Showdown again, but there's a route change. So last year was 380 something, right? And
it was 380, yeah,
380, and I finished within 23 hours and 54 or 6, or it's very close to 24-hour mark, but it was little shy of 1 day. And this year it's going to be 410, 15?
400 even. Yeah.
Okay, 400 even. So maybe if I push very hard, I can still go within 24, but that would be very difficult challenge. But, since the route it's changed, I guess got to try the best.
Yeah. Yeah, Kuya, I'm really interested to see what you're going to do. And what I'm curious what you're going to change, because the time you threw up was a time that was on nobody's radar. No one thought it was possible. And you just indicated that you're going to be changing a lot.
Yeah.
Which seems crazy considering you did so well. You might just keep it going. So what are you changing this year?
So last year I carried emergency BB just in case I had to sleep. But this year I just not going to carry anything to sleep. So like no emergency BB, no nothing, and also like ditching saddlebag, and I'm going full frame bag, and which I guess South City Stitchworks, Zach. We're working together to come up with like a best kind of like setup for bike packing, racing packs. So that will be like set up, and hopefully that would avoid some of like weight shifting in the saddlebag. Especially I'm very small. I'm like 5'6", so any weight we can like put it in center of gravity. It helps for me. And also the biggest change probably is aero bars.
Yeah. You're a wild man for not using aero bars. We talked about this. Kuya and I did an episode with Dennis after last year's East Texas Showdown. So I know the answer, but are you willing to share again, like how were you able to do it so fast? I mean, it really came down to carrying all your food and only stopping for water, I think.
Right. So I think on my Wahoo, it said my stopping time was like 36 or 37 minutes of total time, which I carried all the food. So like 4 pounds of rice cakes. And the only stops I did was getting gallon of water or just refilling my bottles. But I had the hydration pack, so I could carry always about maybe 3 liters of water. I'll be carrying actually 1 extra liter of water this year to get that little bit more miles without stoppage. So that's something I can also do differently. And I don't know, but within like 1 hour of stoppage for 400 miles I think it's good, like goal to have if you're going faster.
You're blowing our minds, dude. You're blowing our minds. Did you poop last year?
No, I stopped for pee for like maybe 3-4 times, I guess. But you're sweating so much, like you don't really like pee even. So
that's insane.
Especially at
man.
night, you don't also sweat that much as well. So,
all right. So anyone sign up for the showdown? Y'all better watch out for Kuya.
Actually, one interesting thing, I think like last 180 miles, I think I only drink that 4 liter of water because it was at night and all the gas station was closed. I actually stopped by all the gas stations after 9. And I like every time I was like, okay, it's closed. So, last bit was kind of a struggle, but yeah.
Wow.
I'll plan on that one. Yeah.
That's another tip. Yeah, that was smart. Carry an extra bottle of water. And you have to be mindful of when some of those resupplies close, so.
Right.
All right, Emily. Yeah, so I did the Slowdown last year. Contrary to Kuya, I didn't place. I don't know. I think there were like 10 women that did it, and I was 6th or 7th or somewhere near the bottom. It took me about 52 hours, and 26 of those hours were not riding. So we were super chill. We like slept 10 hours on Saturday night and picked up a 6-pack of beer and chips and guac and hung out at the campsite and had a fantastic time. I had never ridden 100 miles before doing the Slowdown last year. So I was like, just my only goal was to finish and like be able to walk on Monday pretty much. Which I did. I was actually like kind of fine. So I got a little more ambitious this year, and I want to do it kind of all in one go. I think my stopping time will still be way more than Kuya's. I don't know how you can ride 380 miles and not poop and eat 4 pounds of rice cakes. That doesn't seem real. I also I struggle so much with eating bike food, quote unquote. Like I need real food. I think there's like a clip of me out there somewhere talking about gas station fried chicken sandwiches. Like that's still going to be a big staple of my Slowdown experience this year. So I want to ride, like my goal is to ride fast. My goal is to ride without stopping, but I'm pretty sure it's still going to be like a 30-hour experience, which if I could do it in under that would be super awesome. But that's probably ambitious.
That's shaving 16 or more hours off your time, right?
Well, my riding time last year was 26 hours. So
yeah, but your total time was what, 56 or
52? Yeah, no, 52. It's like saving 22 hours off. But not having parties in the Radcliffe campground helps.
Emily, I think you're doing it right. When I designed the race, I actually designed it around the slowdown. Like the slowdown, I was like, if I was to design a route and a race that I would want to do, it's the slowdown, because you can take it slow, you can eat, you can grab some beers, you can hang out with your friends, and you can still make it back in time for the party at the end, you know? So like, it's something appealing to me. And then if you want to push it, you can, but you don't have to. You can just take your time. So I like it. All right, Brendan, what about you?
All right. So last year I did the slowdown. I placed last out of everybody. So that was awesome when I pulled back into the Bullet Grill house. Thank you guys for being there. That was sweet. This year I'm doing the showdown. I've pretty much changed. I mean, last year was my first bike packing race. It was my first bike packing trip more than, 20 miles. So it was pretty, it was a pretty big endeavor. I didn't really know what I was getting into. I didn't plan for it. I didn't train for it. I just kind of showed up and had a ton of fun. This year I have cheat sheets. I have times of gas stations closing. I'm training. Like I said earlier, I cut way back on, how much I consume in alcohol. I changed my diet around. So I've got a really pretty good plan. And if I can finish 2 hours faster, if I can finish the showdown 2 hours faster than I finished the slowdown last year, that's a win in my book for me. So that's my goal.
That's really cool. And I just want to touch on, for anyone who isn't familiar, the slowdown, we have different awards than just first, second, and third. We have the faux slow, which is the fake slowest or the fastest person. But really the place of honor is pro slow, which you were. And you came into the Bullet Grill with a Modelo in hand. And it was one of the highlights of the whole event, I think, for everybody who was there, So you showed us exactly how to do pro slow the right way. And I think it's cool, man. I think it's super cool that this event allows people an opportunity to push themselves. Emily and Brendan, you both kind of, not to say it was easy, but, like you're like, all right, let's just go see what this is about. And then this year, you're both stepping up significantly, which is, I think, just amazing. I'm really excited to see what y'all are going to do. This is an interesting question that I might as well throw out there because it helps my marketing. But how did you hear about the event? How did you hear about East Texas Showdown or Slowdown or Lowdown? Emily?
Yeah, so I being the local to Houston, know a whole bunch of people who competed in the very first edition, which was I don't know if you have a name for it, but like totally Swamp Fest, destroy your bike version of the Slowdown or Showdown, which was, I think, like a fall race originally. So a bunch of the folks over at Edo Bike Co. did it, broke their bikes, and Alex Maldonado, who finished first that year, has become a friend. So he's actually the one who sort of, first I heard about it through, and then a couple of women who I ride with pretty regularly had told me they were signed up, and sort of said, hey, this seems like it might be up your alley of type 2 fun. Do you want to come join? And so I did. And actually, you mentioned that I sort of got into it without knowing what I was doing. I literally came in off the wait list at 2 weeks before the event, having done zero training whatsoever. So couldn't have gotten more casual in how I got into it. But yeah, I heard about it just through local Houston folks.
Yeah, but that's awesome though. That it's doable. I mean, you can come in after 2 weeks with no training, and it's obtainable. It's not going to be easy, but you can do it, right? Maybe don't recommend it, but it's.
I was going to say, like baseline level of bike fitness required, I would say.
Sure. Yeah, you can't come off your couch.
Correct. This is not a couch to slow down methodology.
Yeah. No. Good interjection there. I appreciate it. Maybe not interjection. What's a better word? Good tip. All right, Brendan.
So my wife and I were driving to Ohio to visit family, and I think it was right after you interviewed Scotty after she won the high country. And we were just Googling, podcasts to listen to, and we picked up Bikes or Death. And I think it's like a 10.5-hour drive to Ohio. And I think we listened to Bikes or Death all the way there and all the way back. and you just started talking. I think it was also right after the first edition had finished, and you were talking about planning for last year's spring event. Sorry guys, sorry my computer's being fritzy.
No, man, it's okay. This is par for the course doing these internet ones. It's just part of the deal. So you were saying that I was starting to talk about the spring event, the East Texas Showdown.
Yeah. And I just thought, oh my God, that sounds like an awesome time. I'd been through that part of Texas before, and I was like, man, that's going to be beautiful. So I had to get down on this. And when you opened up registration, I was like, I'm doing it. Let's go.
That's really cool. All right, Kuya.
I guess where I heard about this was all from an Austin cyclist. A lot of my friends did it. So Alicia, Hannah, and also Kyle. I heard all the story about crazy bike event, and I saw some of the pictures and just looked like a lot of like hard riding, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should try something different from road cycling. And I was getting into like cyclocross a little bit, so I was like, yeah, why not? Like even a little bit more different. And I think like last year, was it like 1/3 or something crazy amount of people from Austin attended? Showdown
I think
event.
That's right. Yeah, it was like 30% was all from Austin. Yeah,
there was like a hype all about this event. It's like drivable distance from Austin, about like maybe 3 hours or so, and event was so accessible, and people knew it was so beautiful. And I guess we're going to talk about how we felt like riding through the course and stuff later. But yeah, so I heard all the great stories, so I was like, oh, gotta check it out. So that's how I signed up.
Yeah, I freaking love the Austin people. I love all the people. Houston people are cool too. But like Austin did represent like 30 or 33% of everybody there, and just great energy. I appreciate the vibe that everyone really brings. It's always exciting to see everybody get together. What do we got next? So actually, Kuya, you were right on the notes. The next question is, how would you describe the course or the route or whatever, the area, to somebody who's never done it before? Brennan, you're up.
Other than being spectacularly beautiful, I would say it's probably 70-30 gravel to pavement. At least this is from Slowdown last year. It was a great mix. I mean, the roads, the gravel isn't like it is up here in Northwest Arkansas. It's more dirt, which is awesome because it's super chunky up here. Yeah, I think that kind of nails it for me.
Okay. Kuya.
I'll agree. Like super beautiful. Also, like your sense get like, I guess if you're riding, you can only focus on like a vision and smells, and maybe you might be listening to music, but a lot of like, it's very quiet, like, but then you can smell all the pine trees, flowers. So it's like, it's not just like a view is beautiful. Like it's all like the other kind of sense is, I guess, very like, I don't know, exciting, I guess, like through the course. I mean, even though you're riding similar road all the time, and as Brendan like mentioned, probably like 60-40 or 70-30 gravel. But once you're on gravel for so long, like road segment seems very short because once you're on it, it's very smooth and like nice and rolly. But enough gravel, I would say, but it's hard packed, and only like sandy segment around like mile 100 or 120, there's like a little bit deep sand. But other than that, I think it's very nice and quiet, and especially riding at night, there's pretty much no lights. And I think last year when we rode, also there wasn't like moon. I don't think it was like, so it was like pitch dark, and very nice, like calm environment. It's kind of meditation. Like I guess it's kind of like, what do you call it? Like walking meditation. It's like cycling meditation for many hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. All right, Emily.
Yeah, I think the guys captured it. It has a little bit of everything. I mean, like I said, I get to ride this area, at least the southern part of the course, but even kind of the northern half of the course is like not too far from us. And it's got shady, piney sections. It's got exposed, hot, sandy sections. It's got like super lovely, quiet gravel roads. It's got shoulder of a state highway. It's got kind of everything that you like would want to see in East Texas. I think if you've done the course, you can pretty confidently say that you know what East Texas looks like, which is really great.
Yeah. One of my a primary goal for me is to create a route that, I mean, yeah, of course, beautiful and gets you off the beaten road, but like safety is you got to take into account like safety and then also like resupplies and camping and all that stuff. I'm curious, do y'all feel like the route is safe? Like a lot of y'all are describing it as like relaxing, meditative, and all this stuff. Did y'all feel like it's relatively safe and safe?
I mean, I guess I'll speak from the perspective of having ridden a lot in the like this general area, and like I would say like the worst part of it on the Slowdown route is that bridge over Lake Livingston. It's just exposed, and like I was doing it when it was hot, and it was fairly miserable, to be honest. It's just like a narrow shoulder of a bridge. You're like between cars and guardrails. They have nowhere to go. You have nowhere to go. But it's like less than a mile, and there's some things that are totally unavoidable, I think. But I would say like for finding 280 miles of roads out in Texas, I felt very safe on it compared to a lot of the other places I ride.
Anybody else have any thoughts? You don't have to. Just
I would say it's a similar like on the bridge, but then like because there's like so much debris and like wood chunks on the side, you have to kind of ride on the road. But also depends on like what time of the day you go through. Like I think I was going through like, I don't know, sunrise, maybe like 5 or 6 a.m. or something like that. So there weren't much cars. So for me, it was okay and safe. So I think like depends on like what time of the day you go through certain sections. You might feel like more, I guess, like not as safe, I guess. But overall, I think great. Like, I mean, if there's like near highway, there's like a side shoulder and everything. So yeah, I would say like 95% or more safe.
I'll
not
take
much
it.
cars. Yeah.
Yeah, you also mentioned resupplies on my cheat sheet. I think the longest distance between resupplies that I have marked off is 28 miles. So, I mean, there's awesome resupplies the entire route. I mean, you planned it super, super good, for resupplying.
So, Brendan, just to make sure, you know that we're riding it backwards this year, right?
I do. Yes, I did. Okay. I did see that.
Okay. Yeah. Just making sure. So
all my notes are screwed.
I was just, as we're talking, I was just like making sure that we're all on the same page. But one reason I did that, and it's something that a couple of y'all brought up, is that bridge in Livingston. And so this year, everybody's going to be going over that bridge essentially at the same time, which I think creates more exposure and safety, like safety in numbers type situation. And I haven't locked this down yet, but I'm in contact with a guy. I don't remember his title, but we're trying to get like an escort or some flaggers out there for, an hour window to like get everybody through safely. So yeah, that's definitely some feedback that we got, and made some changes to try to make that one section in particular safer. And then actually one of the route changes that from a safety perspective was going into Jacksonville on the Showdown route. I've changed that this year. It'll be reversed, but I've changed it to where you're not taking that busy road, that busy highway up there for very long. So I think it'll even be better this coming year. And that's the other reason I switched it, is because I wanted everybody to see the Davy Crockett National Forest in daytime, because it really is like the crown jewel, I think, of any route that you do. And I didn't realize it before, but I'm like, man, you're kind of like, depending on when you're finishing, you might not see that. But if we do it in reverse, most people are going to get into and get to see a good portion of that Davy Crockett National Forest, which is just, it's a must see during the day, I think. So I think doing a reverse is going to be better, but we'll see how it goes. All right. So today we're 33 days away from the race. Let's talk about how you're training going into it. Kuya, I think you're up.
Sure. So I do road racing normally. So I do train for road racing kind of throughout the year. And then last year I tried the Arkansas High Country, which was 1,000-mile bikepacking. It took me like over 5 days, and it's kind of destroyed my body. And I took kind of like 3 months off, almost completely off the bike because of work and travel and some other interesting things I wanted to do. And so I'm kind of just getting back on bike, and I had 2 weeks of riding, just get miles in and get fitness back. I gained almost like 18 to 20 pounds over the winter, and I'm normally like 135 pounds. So that's significant gain. And I'm feeling better, but I think I should be in fit, like I would say in 3 weeks or so, hopefully for the showdown. And I'm just riding a lot of group rides here in Austin because there's like hundreds of them. And yeah, I'm clocking over 20 hours for the last 2 weeks, and I will probably go down to maybe 10, 15. But yeah, that's how I'm training. But mainly for road racing, I'm training and just getting hours on the bike to be comfortable.
It worked last year.
We'll see.
All right, Emily.
So I have I've never really trained for an event, like in probably the sense that you're supposed to, or like with any sort of structured plan. But I ride my damn bike a lot. So lately what that looks like is like last weekend, I think there were only 4 hours that I was awake and not riding my bike. And that's because I was driving from a bike ride to another bike ride. So I've been trying to ride. I've been doing a lot of like long morning road rides, and then taking my gravel bike and hitting some gravel miles and some single track, which is partially because single track is fun and partially because I'm training for some other events that have single track in them. But just like, I'm not concerned, I guess, anymore about like speed or trying to be super fast. It's just mostly about like putting as many hours of my body on the bike as I can get. And just knowing and then giving myself plenty of time to recover from that, because like a weekend that looks like that is, pretty tough on the body, and getting lots of rest in between like big weekends like that.
So Emily, you're planning to do it with little to no sleep this year. Is there any way that are you doing anything to like train for that specifically? Have you done anything that would help prepare you kind of mentally for that, or what's your plan there?
Yeah, so actually, I haven't done it yet, but next weekend, a couple of ladies and I are going to ride the Slowdown route, and we're starting at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, partially because one of us works on Saturdays, and partially because we really want to do the night riding. So I've never ridden overnight all night, and I don't think any of them will have either. So we really wanted just to understand how that was going to feel mentally and physically, and do our lights last long enough, and all these kinds of things that you won't find out until you go do it.
I love that. That is so cool. And that's exactly, that's how to do it, man. Like get off work, do an entire day, and ride through the night and test your gear and test your mind and your body and everything. So I think that's wonderful. I love that, Emily. Brendan, what do you got?
So I'm actually on a training plan this year that doesn't involve going to New Orleans 2 weeks before the event and eating and drinking all the things. So I have coaches for the first time in my life, which is really nice. Also, the high school that I work at, we have a gravel team, and I've been riding a ton with them. Which keeps you honest because kids can humble you very quickly. So just putting in a ton of miles, consistent miles, and training smart, not just going out and riding, as hard as I can. Kuya, I've lost about 33 pounds, so you probably gained mine. I'm sorry.
His starts good and then it just stops.
Yeah.
So you cut off. You were saying, I think, was he saying Kuya that you lost? You gained his.
He gave
his
me
pounds.
all the pounds.
Yeah. I'm down about 33 pounds since this time last year, which is awesome for me. So yeah, feeling great.
Congrats, man. I just clocked 20 pounds down from last year. So I'm actually, I don't know if y'all know, but I'm supposed to be doing an ITT on the Showdown in like 2 or 3 weeks. But I just got a concussion like last week and I'm just getting over it. And so I don't know if I'm going to I might switch it up and do the Slowdown. But I'm looking forward to having 20 less pounds to carry around on my bike. I think it'll probably help. Are any of y'all doing off the bike training? Any workouts, any weight training, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm back in the gym after a year hiatus. So in 2021, I was in the gym a lot because I was training for a mountaineering trip. And then when I got back from that in January, I was like, oh, thank God I never have to use a weight room again. And then after a year of really just riding my bike effectively, I realized that I can ride my bike forever. And I, partially because I live in Houston and we have 0 hills, like can't climb a hill to save my life anymore. So sort of decided, well, like I don't want to live in Houston forever and I don't want to suffer when I go do races that are not in Houston. So I'm back in the gym a couple of times a week, mostly legs, mostly lifting heavy stuff with them.
Anyone else? Just
right now I'm not doing much, but I was like really avid rock climber before cycling, and I actually gonna reactivate probably my membership soon, just for the side, but something different than pedaling.
Yeah. I think I've really got into cross training. I agree with you, Emily. Like, it's difficult to train, I think, in Texas, especially if you're going to other parts to either just to ride or to race. I mean, you get there and you're like, I'm not prepared for this. And so I think that cross training really, really helps. It has for me, I feel like. I skipped this question. I was going to ask it just a minute ago when we were talking about our description of the course. One segment, the Sandy segment that was brought up last year was around, I think, 1 mile, 1:15, somewhere around there. This year, depending on the route you're doing, it's going to be later on in the race. But there is an option to navigate around that Sandy section that I'm actually, when I do my ITT, I'm going to go ride it for the first time. I don't know. It could be sandy, but it goes around that road essentially. And so I'm going to go scout it out. But what are y'all's thoughts on, should the sandy section remain? Because we're talking about type 2 fun and it shouldn't necessarily be easy. And it's kind of fun to hear people whine about it. Or should we take it out and be like, hey, man, it's already hard enough, you know? Because I go back and forth and I have different opinions on this. So I don't know who wants to. Kuya, go first on this one, and then we'll go around.
Sure.
Keep the sandy section or go around it. What do you vote?
I like sandy section. I guess like I do also like cyclocross. It's kind of like, you know, can I get through it or not? Kind of like adventure. And also like, you know, if you're riding enough, you're going to encounter some sandy sections. So it keeps it like more interesting, I think, overall course. And it's not that long. It's less than like half mile. Like I think it's maybe quarter mile. I don't know. I don't remember being that long. So I think it's kind of fun to keep it. Unless, you know, it's like red and muddy and just so hard to go through.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is because like the first year we did it, it was raining.
Yeah.
And it was terrible, right? And so it really does depend.
Yeah.
And I can't control the weather, right? So like it's gonna be slow going one way. Or it could be sandy, it could be muddy. I mean, just
especially
weather
course
dependent.
is, you know, now flipped. It's gonna be like a lot of people might be going through it at night. That would be also challenging.
Yeah. Emily, what do you think?
I was going to say it's very easy to say keep it when you weigh 135 pounds and don't carry anything on your bike. But for those of us who do not, or who bike packed last year with entire full setups, I pushed my bike through most of that sand. I couldn't ride it. I'm personally curious to see if I can ride it this year because I will have way less weight on the bike and I'm running wider tires. I rode 42s last year and I'll be riding 45s this year. I guess I would say, like, for me, it adds to the, I think if you take out the sandy sections and it all becomes rideable, then it's like just a test of speed and endurance. Whereas like when there's something a little technical, then you have to think about tire selection and trade-offs on road speed versus being able to ride the sand. And like, it's not really long enough that it probably makes any difference in anyone's final result. But I do think it like adds a little bit more of the ethos that you're probably going for in designing the race.
Yeah, I agree, Emily. All right, let's get what Brendan has to say first, and then I'll weigh in.
Keep it. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Kuya. It really was not that long of a section. I ran 2.6s last year and like 22 PSI, so I floated through it. But I say keep it.
Okay. All right, we're keeping it. I'm deciding right now. I literally just made that decision right now. That's what we're going to do, man. I agree with what Emily said, man. This is the ethos of the event. I remember when I found that road eventually, I was excited about it because it is different. It adds a different dynamic. It adds a challenge that everybody has to deal with. It's not like you're the only person dealing with it. We all have to face the same conditions. And it's not that long. Like that entire road is 10 miles long, but the sandy bits that you have to walk, I mean, it might be a mile, like worst case scenario. You know, we're not talking about miles and miles of walking. So I feel good about keeping it. If anybody was wondering,
because everybody can talk all about it after the race. That's all.
I know. It gives us something to talk. Right? Well, that's like the thing that's like made me question myself is because there's so much chatter about it, but at the same time, the fact that people are talking about it is probably a good thing, right? We're gonna keep it. All right, let's move on. What do we got? Sandy section. We're gonna leave it. Check that off. Who are we starting with?
I think we'll
go with Emily. Tricks for being more comfortable and avoiding injury on long distance rides like this. You got any tricks?
Oh, this is really a good Kuya question. But I will just say that I mentioned that I got this bike that I rode it on last year, 2 weeks before, and I was like, oh God, this is a recipe for injury for sure. So I did go and get a professional fit, which I had never done in my life. And I was like, this is an absurd amount of money and I'm very grumpy. But like, I will say all is well that ends well. I didn't nothing really was, no injuries, obviously lots of like minor discomforts. I had never used chamois butter prior to the Slowdown in my life. I was gifted a tube of diaper cream by a very kind fellow rider on the ride. And I'm now a bit of a convert, especially for super long rides. So I would say those two things: make sure your bike is set up to fit you and treat your butt nice.
Did you go to, was it Thad or Tad bike fitting in Houston?
I did not go to him, but I've heard of him in Houston. I went to Cynthia, who's the only woman who does bike fits in the city. So I thought that would be nice.
And you, can you speak real quick about your personal, like how much of a difference did you notice versus the same bike that was fit versus non-fit? Was it a substantial difference or?
It's hard for me to say because I owned it so briefly before. I will say that we made, like, the changes that we made were not, they didn't seem dramatic at the time, but I think it's really a case of like centimeters mattering. Like, especially in things like reach. I personally I'm 5'4" and I'm like more legs than torso. So any bike off the shelf is going to have a reach that's too long for me by default. And that's sort of a recipe for like upper back and shoulder pain. And like, you know, if you're putting a lot of weight on your arms because of that, like hand numbness. So there's a lot that could go wrong. I think like that I have experienced on just bikes in general that I know aren't particularly well set up for me. So I can't say like definitively that this bike fit saved my life, but I think I would think that there is value in it for sure.
Yeah. All right, Brendan. Is he even there? He probably left. All right, Kuya, let's go with you and see if Brendan shows up.
Okay. More comfortable on the bike. Actually, so I guess as you may know, cyclist palsy, like the last two fingers, so pinky and ring finger get numb during cycling. And I got that from Showdown last year. Which lasted maybe only 4 days or so to recover. But then like Arkansas High Country, I am like 5 months after, and I still have like tingliness in like my two fingers for both hands. So definitely like I changed like, I mean, Alcazar High Country, I didn't wear like highly padded glove, which was mistake. So definitely like good gloves, or like, some people do like double taped like handlebars. I mean, obviously showdown course is not that bumpy, so I'm not too worried about it, but definitely like good also gloves helps avoiding those like cyclist palsy, numbness in your hands. Also cyclist like cycling fit, I guess that would help too.
Did you run your aero bars on the high country?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Did you notice a pretty significant, I mean, obviously it's 380 versus 1,000 miles. So, I mean, you're going to have pain any way you do it, but did you notice a pretty good improvement overall with that?
Yeah, you can change your positions a lot, but at the same time, like the course is very bumpy and like downhill, uphill everywhere in Arkansas, which I had to be on the drops. And then I think that really caused like the, I guess, damage in my nerves. So I'm, bathing, treating it nicely, nursing it. I'll see, trying not to get worse, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing about my route is you can stay in the aero bar position for a really long time if you want to. Not too much is going to knock you out of those, other than braking.
Right.
But other than that, you can pretty much live in those drops. Brendan, are you back?
Yeah, I think I'm back now.
Cool.
Let's see. Yeah, I also pinky and ring finger numbness for a really long time after Slowdown last year. So this year I'm going with aero bars and then a redshift stem to take a little shock absorption, help out in the handlebars. So I think that'll help a lot this year.
Emily, we didn't ask you, or I guess it wasn't one of the questions, but are you running aero bars?
I never have, and so I wasn't planning on it, but you guys might be talking. I've always bike packed, and so it's a lot harder to run it when you have like full handlebar bag setups. I have a really small cockpit. There's not a lot of space, but I guess if I have an opportunity to try them out in the next month, maybe I'll be talked into it. Seems to be the cool thing to do.
The reason I run them is solely for hand pain. It's something I always suffer from. And so just being able to switch the positions alleviates. If you're in the aero bars too long, for me, my shoulders are really going to start to burn. And so then you can sit up and your hands hurt and you switch it around. That's why I like them. And we've seen, so follow-up question then, Emily, did you experience much hand pain last year?
No, I've never really, I mean, I know kind of the tingle you guys are talking about, but I've never really had like significant, numbness or pain in my hands. Much more likely to get it in my like upper back and shoulders. So not sure that aero bars would be the way to go.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, everybody has different, I always say like everybody's going to hurt. It's just a matter of what's going to hurt. And so we're all built a little bit differently, but you might not need them. Might be a little bit less weight that you have to put on your bike. All right, Brendan, you're up. Are you still with us?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the next one is sleep, the do's and don'ts of sleeping. Kuya can't even answer this question. So Kuya's just like, don't do it. What do you got, Brendan?
So I was a hammock camper for the longest time. And I'm going to try and push all the way through the first night and as deep into the second day as possible. But I've switched to a air pad on the ground and like a emergency bivvy. I think it's changed the way that I sleep when I'm out bike packing now, because I could just never get comfortable in a hammock. Patrick, I know you like the hammock, but I don't know. I always end up like balled up in the bottom of it and don't sleep very well.
Kuya, how about this question for you, Kuya? What are your tips for not sleeping? How do you stay awake for 24 hours at a time?
I think like, I don't know, everybody can probably stay up like at least like overnight, like just one night. I think you can push maybe up to 30 hours without sleeping. I didn't like. I mean, since you're like moving all the time, especially at night, it's get kind of chilly. So you're not like overheated, or it's pretty comfortable riding through the night actually for this race during spring. Other than that, I guess I only got really sleepy like one point. Like I was like on double track, and then I was on one side, and then like I kind of like 1 second later I was like on the other side of the other track. So, but it's only one incident I had. Which, could be wrong side, but I was on the right side, I guess.
Were you? Did you use caffeine at all, or
I had the gel with caffeine, which I was taking probably like one every 2 hours or so.
Okay, so pretty minimal.
Yeah.
What about you, Emily?
Yeah, I have awesome advice for low-down riders, I guess. But actually, anyone who just wants to get good sleep. I'm for sure a tent camper. I had last year a tent and a mattress and a sleeping bag and everything. I think got a little bit of like rain overnight. It wasn't anything dramatic, but I do know some of my hammock friends got a little bit wet. And I was perfectly dry. I would say like do's and don'ts. So we did pre-book campsites, which was very helpful just because it's like one less thing to have stress about while you're riding. Like we just sort of said, okay, that means we have to get to this place. And when we get to this place, like no drama, we just go and sleep. I would say that like if you think you want to sleep, be prepared to sleep. I had some friends who thought they weren't going to sleep and then ended up trying to sleep in bathrooms with the lights on all night and stuff like that. It's really tough to do good quality riding on like that kind of sleep. So if you're not prepared to be up all night, probably bring something comfy.
Yeah, for sure. What are you going to do this year for sleep since you're...
Try not to, but I'm going to bring an emergency bivy with a pillow and a liner. I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to bring an air mattress or not. We'll see.
Yeah, please do.
Do you bring the air mattress or...
Or like, no, like, like a pad, right? Like sleeping pad.
Yeah, a sleeping pad.
Yeah. But I guess I have also, tips for those. Like, so using emergency BB, just don't put the BB over your head, because with the respiration, everything gets wet. But I guess it's as long as it's not multi-day, it's fine. It just get a little bit heavy in the morning.
You just put it in a trash can and move on with your life.
Yeah. Ditch that. You don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
What else? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I'm hoping to test out some caffeination strategies next weekend. So we'll see. I don't do goos or gels very well. So I got to find if it just becomes a thing of chug a can of Coke every 2 hours or what we're going to do. But those are kind of heavy to carry around.
I've never done this before, but I just ordered some 200 milligram caffeine pills off Amazon like yesterday for my ITT. I'm with you. I don't like the goos and the bars and stuff a whole lot. I tend to rely on whatever is available on the route, like a burger or pizza or like just some like real food. And I love my coffee, but if you're riding, you don't have time for a nice cup of joe. So I'm going to try the caffeine pills and see how it works. And I am a hammock camper, and I'll just defend my hammocks real quick. One important note for this route is that it is hammock camping friendly for people who want to hammock camp. This area is known for its trees. It's heavily wooded in most parts. I've never had an issue finding a place to hang my hammock. So for anybody who might be wanting to hammock camp, it's definitely hammock camping friendly. And Brennan, the thing that I will tell most people is that hammock camping is more challenging than people realize. Like the way you hang it, how far away the trees are, the angle of the suspension ropes, and even how you sleep in a hammock is all different than one might think. And so you do kind of have to educate yourself a little bit. Like most people don't realize that in hammocks, you're actually supposed to sleep at them on the diagonal. So if you have like your suspension straps, you're supposed to actually sleep a little bit at the diagonal. And what that does is it opens up the hammock and makes it more of a flat surface to lie on versus what Brennan, you were describing, where you kind of just roll up into a ball at the bottom. So that's just a little tip on hammock camping. But it took me like many tries of hammock camping before I kind of got it right. Whereas tent camping is pretty straightforward. You find a flat piece of ground, you put your mat down, and you're good to go. So anyway, just a thought on hammock camping.
Well, can I add one more thing? Like,
please,
tricks, I guess. Like, it's kind of like sleeping, but being more comfortable. I forgot to mention maybe some people are also like taking just gels or bars, and like your stomach might get upset. I recommend carrying like antacid pills or just Tums. I guess like for me, having the race or like riding over 12 hours or so, it can be like my stomach get acidic, I guess, and it's hard to eat sometimes. So those would help if somebody has more sensitive stomach, I guess.
I think, yeah, even if you don't have a sensitive stomach, they're light, they're small, and yeah, I always have those in my kind of emergency or my like medicine kit. Just, I usually don't have stomach problems, but when you're just eating gas station food and you're doing crazy stuff with your body's like, I don't know what to do. And they can really save you. So I think that's a good tip. All right, Brendan, this is the $1 million question. Tire size and tread, ideal tire size and tread. Everybody's going to have a different opinion here. But what are you going with, Brendan?
So like I said earlier, last year I ran 2.6 mezcals. I am not going to do that this year. I'm still up in the air. I'm either going to run 44 mezcals or 2.1 mezcals. I'm probably going to go with the 2.1s just for a little extra cushion. Yeah.
All right, Kuya.
So last year I run 38, actually Pathfinder. And I mean, I thought it was okay, but some sections I'm like, I could go a little bit wider. So I'm going actually 2 mil wider. So it's going to be 40 mil. Still pretty fast rolling. So we'll see how that goes. But most of the part, as we say, like other than Sunday sections, I think it's just mainly like it's pretty hard packed. So I would say like you don't like, I mean, it also depends on like how much you're carrying, obviously, and your, how much you're loaded. But yeah, I'm definitely running 40 mil, but probably like maybe 20, 25 PSI or like pretty low pressure.
What tire are you running? Do you know?
It's Gateway something Pro. I guess I can pull it up later.
Is it just a fast rolling like small tread?
Yeah, it's pretty minimum tread, just a little bit. But unless like it has to check the weather, if it's raining or something, maybe I have to put something more knobby. But yeah, it's pretty minimum tread.
Okay, what do you got, Emily?
So last year I rode it on 42 Terabell Washburns. I would say honestly, like they were a great choice, except for the sandy sections. I would have appreciated a little bit more there. I currently have some Pirelli Centrado 45s on. I put them on to bike pack in Big Bend. I'm not going to take them off because I hate swapping tubeless tires. And they're very tready, but I've actually bike packed on roads with them since, and they're pretty fast rolling, surprisingly. Much more than you would guess looking at them. And I've just been loving riding them. So I'm planning to keep them on pretty much till I wear them out.
Smart. I am running, when I do mine here in a couple weeks, I don't know what the date is. It's like 2 weekends from now, but I'm running a 48C on a 700 rim. And I'm running the Oracle Ridge by Renee Hurst, which is a decently treaded tire. And I don't know. I like the comfort personally. I don't want to go much smaller. I always prioritize comfort because if you're comfortable, you're a little happier. If you're happier, you're going to be enjoying yourself, have a better positive mental state, and you'll just want to keep riding your bike, which is the whole point. And so I tend to err on the side of a little bit bigger tire. That's just my kind of go-to. So that's what I'm doing. Does anybody have any spooky nighttime encounters? Yeah, Kuya, you're first. Anything weird happen in the night besides getting sleep deprived?
Of them.
Okay.
like at night, maybe like one was like 4 a.m. or something. There was like 2 police cars like on gravel ride, like chasing some like motorcyclist or like dirt moto guy from like, and then they passed me, and then like I didn't see them for like 30 minutes or so, but I caught up to them, and there was like guy who was like handcuffed, like like I don't know, without helmet. He just like crashed on the side, and then I guess that was so crazy, like police chase at night, I guess. So that's kind of spooky, I guess. And the other one was actually pretty cool. Was I think it was like 1 or 2 a.m. I saw albino fox like run like across like in front of me, like, and then it ran like for like 10 seconds or something in like kind of next to me. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And then people are like, are you sure you weren't seeing something? Not real. But you know, it's real for me. So, you know,
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely I wasn't like digging that deep at that point. So I think it was real.
I believe you. I think we talked about this on the episode, that either that or we just talked about it at the Bullet. I remember hearing about that. And I remember I asked you the same question. Because the other thing is like at night, whenever you have your light on something, everything kind of looks white.
Yeah,
you know?
like moving like on the side. Yeah.
Yeah. But I trust you. I believe it. It's a rare thing. That's super cool.
Yeah.
And if you're scared of white things in the forest at night, that's certainly spooky.
Yeah.
What about you, Emily?
Yeah, I rode until the first night I was like safely in my tent being comfy. So nothing crazy. The second night we rode till maybe 1 or 2 in the morning before deciding to catch some sleep, and nothing crazy happened. There were 4 of us, I think, that had decided to keep rolling from Radcliffe together, and we had a super chill, like really fun time. We did, I think I killed a light and we swapped lights around, and we had a great time. No albino foxes, sadly, or police chases. Either of those probably would have livened up the night, but no, nothing.
Yeah, that's just good adrenaline, you know. You're
For sure.
It gets lonely out there. You kind of want some action every once in a while. What about you, Brendan?
Nothing crazy. I had a dog that I didn't see or hear until he was almost in my spokes, and I almost went over the handlebars, but that was about as eventful as it got for me.
So
the moon last year on the second night was really, really cool, though. If anybody caught it, it was really pretty.
Actually, everybody talked about this dog. It's like just sits only like a foot or 2, like right next on the shoulder. And then they'll wait till like you're right next to it, and then they come at you. Like I think everybody had this experience.
Yeah. We did have a dog on the way. I can't remember. It was kind of right on the way into one of the towns, and he had a good running start at us.
So here's my tip for anyone racing it this year. Just anytime you're doing night riding, I strongly recommend a helmet light. Because it's great to have a front light, but if you have a dog or anything to the left or the right of you, you cannot see it unless you have a headlamp on. And I've had the exact same experience when I did the 500-mile Grand Gravel event. I had a pit bull, it was deathly quiet and just came right out at my heels in the middle of the night. And luckily I did have a headlamp on so I could see it, but it was a black one too. I mean, it was ruthless. And so that's one of the tips is a headlamp, especially if you're thinking about riding through the night. Just great for safety all around, being able to see whatever it is you need to look at. My only other story, and I've shared this on the podcast before, but I was looking for water at a church at 2:30 in the morning, and this old redneck coming home from, I assume, the bar or his friend's house. I mean, he was clearly been drinking, and he rolled up and pointed his headlights at me. I was at this church, and I'm sure I looked suspicious, right? Like I got a bike and I'm digging around a church kind of, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And it was fine. I kind of just told him what I was doing, but my thing is with those spot trackers that we have, I think they're great safety devices. I mean, obviously if something happens, you can hit the button, but if you ever have an interaction with somebody that is a little sketchy, just have it ready, have it somewhere easily accessible. And if you need to, like, I've never had to say this, but I always felt like if I get into an or a situation, I would be like, listen, man, this is a GPS unit. I pay a lot of money for it. If I hit this button, every single emergency service within like a radius is coming to get me. Everybody knows exactly where I am and they know what I'm doing. So, you know, let's just tone this down a little bit essentially. But, just a tip if you're out there and things get a little weird. I think those are a great, like, it's a security blanket. It's a safety system that's in place, and hopefully you don't have to press it. But if you do, that's what it's there for.
Pro tip.
Yeah. It gets weird in the woods, man. You got to be ready. So the next question is about dogs. That's always a huge question, and it's an important question. It's a reality. You're going to deal with dogs. And so let's go around, and I'd like to get each of your own personal, cause it's so funny. Like on the same route, I get wildly different stories, in terms of some people be like, oh, I didn't have any dogs chase me. And some people like, I had 100 dogs chase me. And so like, I don't know what's going on there, but let's go around and say, what was your own personal relationship or, you know, frequency with dog encounters, and how do you deal with them when they do happen? Kuya, I think, is it Kuya or Emily or Brendan that's next?
Brendan, maybe.
I think Brendan, yeah.
Sure. Okay. Honestly, that one experience last year at night was the only dog experience that I had. I keep a dog bottle in my whatever the pouch is called that I have connected to my stem, in case I need to spray them in the face. But I didn't see very many dogs this year personally.
Okay. What about you, Kuya?
I think maybe every 30 mile or so we have like probably dogs first, like a couple hundred or so, I think. But I don't know. I normally just like stay on the bike and keep pedaling. That's best way forward. But I mean, Texas, we just get so many of those, but here, like out of state, not used to this like Texas dog chase. Just be ready, like don't freak out and hit brake or anything. Just keep going like forward. You know, they can run so fast, so long. So it's like if you do like 10 seconds effort, they're done.
Yeah. That's a good tip. If you got anything left on the legs, and if you're not on a hill, because that's the problem, right? Is like, why do dogs always show up when you're on an uphill with a fully loaded bike and you're already tired? So like, if you got the legs and you got the stamina, put in a little effort. What about you, Emily? What was your experience?
I like remember a couple. I mean, none that have stuck with me a year later, but that's probably because, as Kuya said, it's so common out here in Texas that I don't know. It just feels like a normal part of a ride at some point. I will say that they do have a propensity for like waiting at the top of a hill for you. And you're like, this is the worst time. Why would you catch me here? I would say they react pretty well to a shot of water to the face generally. But also I think in the time I've been riding here, I've gotten better at determining like friendly wants to play dog and like dogs trying to bite your ankle. And like, it's not worth wasting your tank on, you know, the guy whose tail's wagging 100 beats a minute or whatever. Like he's just trying to look for a friend. So like, just say hello to him, tell him to go home, and he'll probably be fine. But yeah, I mean, for sure, there are some out there that are taking nips, and those are the ones that are worth burning a match for, or giving them some water.
I think what y'all said is probably important. This is so commonplace for Texas riding that I think a lot of us don't even think about it much. It just is part of riding in Texas. There are a decent amount of dogs. Most of them don't want to kill you. Most of them are going to be wagging their tails and all that kind of stuff. My personal, how I deal with them is I do what Emily does, is like, I'll actually like ride at them. If they're like on the side of the road, I ride directly at them and I'll yell at them and just say, go home, you know, and like, I'm the bigger, badder thing. And they're like, whoa, what are you doing, man? And kind of, I scare them. They're trying to scare me. I'm like, no, I can play that game too. And that works almost, because they're just freaked out. They're like, they'll just be like startled and stand there. And while they're doing that, I'm pedaling away and haven't really had any issues with them. And so, yeah. When I did the lowdown, I don't think we got chased by any dogs. None that were like aggressive, you know? And so like there were no dogs that stood out. I mean, there were dogs out there barking and stuff, but nothing crazy. So I don't want to scare anyone out there. I mean, they're out there, but you know, we haven't had anyone get bit. You know, this will be our third year to do it. We've had 150 people ride the route and nobody's been bit. So pretty good track record so far. How do we charge our electronics? Kuya, we'll start with you. What's your strategy if you have one? If you only do it in 24 hours, maybe you don't have to charge anything. What?
Yeah, I'll carry extra, just like cash battery, maybe 1,000 or 10,000, I guess, milliamp watts or whatever. So I'm gonna carry one. I know, like, I actually like learned recently, like, oh yeah, you should like put your cell phone to like airplane mode so you don't waste like much battery so quickly, which I should learn like long ago. But because a lot of places it just like cell signal is so weak, like you're just having your cell phone on all the time, it just dies pretty quickly. So that's, I guess, one. But other than that, if you're doing overnight, you probably only need to charge once or twice. I mean, and then also your GPS unit, you have to charge, which kind of like, so I guess like another tip for that is if you have, I guess, means like just borrow somebody else's like GPS unit or something so you have a backup. I only had carried one GPS unit last year, and I actually like it got stuck after a mile, like, I don't know, 250 or something. I was on like road, so I was like keep going straight. So I would like overshot maybe like a mile or so, and then I had to turn around and get on the course. So if I had, you know, just backup map or something, it would be good to have.
Did you? So I recommend that everybody download for offline use on Ride with GPS. Yeah. So you have that as a backup. Did you do that or?
So I had. Yeah, Ride with GPS. I forget if I downloaded, or I think it was like maybe like still using cell signal to get the data, because I was like trying to check, and then like, but I was like on the map, I was like, I'm not sure where I am. Like, so yeah, I think, yeah, your recommendations, right? Yeah, it should have some kind of backup in
some kind of backup. Yeah, for sure. All right, Emily.
Yeah, so last year I still didn't own a bike computer when I did this. So I navigated entirely off of my phone. Works great, as it turns out. So I now own Oahu, and I have never tried to use it for more than 8 or 10 hours at a time. So I don't know yet how I'm going to charge things. I'll try to figure that out on next weekend's adventure. But if you are camping, I will say that Salmon Lake and Ratcliffe both have outlets in the bathrooms that you may use. And otherwise, power banks are your friend. But I also did learn like what the difference between lights with pass-through charging and lights without it were last year on the Slowdown. Like most lights, you can't have them on and also charging, which I didn't know. That seemed like very common sense to me. Like your phone can be plugged in and also charge, or you can be using it and charging it. But it turns out that's not standard in bike lights. So either like have one that you can swap, so you can charge one and use one, or buy a very fancy, expensive light that allows you to do pass-through charging.
Yeah, very good tips. And another reason to test your gear through the night before you go and just try it for the first time. But yeah, that's solid. What about you, Brendan?
Yeah, for like, for Emily, like if you're using like any kind of GPS unit for over 12 hours, like a lot of times like they want to crash or like reload or restart. So just like once they have enough like data on it, so a lot of times it's good to like kind of save a segment, and then I mean you want to have like one ride all continuous later, but you can do that later. So I would suggest like even some people even like load navigation like into 2 pieces
as segments.
Yeah,
that's probably smart. Last year, that's what I had done. I was recording it all on I think I recorded it all on my Garmin. I didn't rent the spot tracker because I have a Garmin InReach. Yeah. But yeah, I like recorded it separately and then was able to stitch it together on some free website. But yeah, that's a good tip for you.
Oh, Emily, I actually meant to ask you. I don't use a bike computer either. I just use my phone with GPS. I put it in low power mode and airplane mode, and I've had really good luck with that. So you said you did that last year. Do you have a sense for like how many recharges you had to do on your phone? Did you have it just plugged into a power bank the whole time? Like what did you experience with that?
Yeah, because I was camping, I did charge it overnight. I think the day that we rode, like 16 hours, I did have to plug it in midday, or midday. But I have like a really small power bank that has an integrated cord that fits in my little like top tube bag and plugs into my phone on the handlebar mount. So it's like super convenient. Everything stays exactly where it's supposed to be on the bike, and I can just charge and ride and navigate all at the same time. So I'm definitely going to keep that set up for this year just as a backup to the Wahoo. So if the Wahoo dies or I need to charge it or whatever, I'll have phone-based navigation and recording, which will be nice.
Yeah, very cool. Brendan, what about you?
Last year I carried two 10,000 milliamp batteries, which was more than I ever needed to keep all my stuff charged. You can run I run a Garmin, and you can run it in, I think it's expedition mode, which kind of is like airplane mode for your phone, where it turns the screen off and it only gives you prompts when you need to make a turn. So that helps save. And then I also keep my phone with the offline maps as redundancy in case my Garmin goes out or it sends me on the wrong path, which it's done in the past. But yeah, I mean, I could get by probably with one 10,000 milliamp battery. That was more than enough to carry me all the way through.
What about your like headlamp, your bike light, your tail lights, all that stuff?
I carried, I can't remember who, I think I got them on Amazon, but I've got these little tiny cube taillights that last forever. And I carried two of them, just so that I could have a taillight going at all time. I run, Linzine, is that how you say it? Headlight, which is definitely not pass through because it's run out on me, in the past. And then actually this year today when I got home from work, my brand new headlight or helmet lamp was in the mailbox, so I'm super psyched to set that up and have light on my head this year.
Right on. All right, who's next for answering this one first? I guess Emily's next. Yes. So what is more fun, the race or the hoedown? And the hoedown is the after party. So we got the slowdown, the showdown, and the hoedown, or the lowdown and the hoedown. We got it all. What's more fun? What did you enjoy more, the actual route or the hoedown?
We've been waiting for you to create one called the Brodown. So I'm surprised to learn that this thing is called the Hoedown.
I am not doing the Brodown ever. I don't want that one.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure that I do either.
Nobody wants that. That's too much testosterone. That doesn't sound fun at all.
I know. I'm gonna say, I mean, they were both fun. I don't want to discredit either, but I think like I had a ton of fun riding the route. I mean, I came there to ride my bike. I rode my bike, and it was fantastic. But the Bullet Grill puts on a really good party, and we had a super good time. Like when I finished, that was the second best beer of my life, maybe the first one being like the one I had on night one after my very first century. But yeah, it was, both of them are a good time, but I think the route is what you come for.
Good answer. They're all right answers. No wrong answers here, but I like it. What about you, Brennan?
Since I technically missed the hoedown last year, I mean, other than everybody that was hanging out in the parking lot afterwards, the route is awesome. It's a ton of fun. I made a bunch of really good friends last year. The camping after the hoedown is awesome at the Bullet Grill. So camp there. It's sweet.
Yeah, if we have room for you.
If there's room for you.
Yeah. That's a whole nother deal. Is we went from 100 to 200 people, and now finding a place for everyone to camp and the cars and everything. It's we're still trying to figure it out, to be honest with you. Don't ask me yet. I don't know. We're working on it. Anyway, I'm going to edit that out so everybody thinks I know exactly what I'm doing.
100%.
Yeah, I got this shit. Don't worry. What about you, Kuya? Kuya, you spent more time at the Bullet Grill than you did racing last year.
Yeah, I got there like pre-party, which was great, and it was like my first time trying it, so people were like giving advice and like what not to do, what to do, and I mean, like I was like very new, so I was like, first time I was like putting like bags on the bike was like a night before and trying to load things, and I would never do it again that way. And also like putting extra sealant night before, my tire was flat when I woke up in the morning. But I pumped it up and they held for 24 hours, so it's I got lucky maybe. But
that's crazy.
Yeah, I had great time, like pre-party, after party, and also like waited for everybody to finish. I guess not everybody to finish, but most of the people to finish, and was a lot of fun. I mean, I had to take a nap like after I finished, so I missed maybe some of the people like greeting some. But it's great location. You can see everybody like riding by, especially who's doing like a showdown. You get to see them, but then they have to do another 30 miles or so.
Something like that.
Yeah. So that's great location. I definitely enjoyed like connecting with people like outside of like, because during the race I think I was like by myself after 1 hour of the race. I didn't have anybody's interaction, so it was great to kind of get all that like kind of like I can intake it. Yeah,
that was one of my big things that I wanted to do, was make sure that the route is short enough to where we can all. Even Brendan, you basically made it. You were basically there. You came right at you came fashionably late, which is exactly how you want to arrive to a party. But yeah, just like having an opportunity to like see other people come in, cheer other people on, and then like sit around and tell some stories and talk about the dogs and talk about the sand and talk about the rain that one year, but we're not ever having rain again. That was a one-time thing. We got it out of our system and we don't have to worry about that ever again. That's guaranteed. All right. I don't have any other questions. Our guest or our riders didn't have any other questions. So, any other like closing thoughts? Did anybody have anything that they wanted to add? Otherwise, you can go eat dinner. What do you think?
Sounds good. I think people shouldn't worry about it. Just, ride it, have fun.
Oh, Brendan's back. No, he's
I feel
not.
like I have questions for Kuya.
Sure.
What's your question? Yeah, ask a question. I love it.
I don't know what they are. I didn't have time to prepare.
You missed the email, huh?
I'm always available, so if
No,
whoever has
I'm
questions.
I'm like not worried about riding the distance. I don't think. Like I'm sure that somehow I will suffer through it, even though it's like more than twice as long as I've ever ridden in a day. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like very interested. I guess maybe after next week's night ride, I'll have more questions, because I think like there's so much that I have just like self-doubt about, that I'm like, what, like, am I going to get in this mental place where I'm like, why have I done this to myself? Like, what in the world was I thinking? And I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. So like, then what? How do you get from there to like, and we're going to keep doing this anyway?
It's a good question.
It's
one you get to answer.
Oh, right now?
I'll take them. No. Well,
I mean,
anytime.
Oh yeah, anytime. Cool. Yeah, maybe like pre-game at the Bullet Grill.
Pre-game at the Bullet Grill, you'll give me all your secrets. All right, good deal.
Brendan, are you there? No, he's not there. I'm nervous
right now.
I'm doing. I'm planning to do the 400. I'm with this concussion. I'm really like having to question like what makes sense, and I'm at least going to shoot for the 280 miles. I'd really like to do the 400, but as it gets closer, man, 400 miles is a long way. I don't care who you are, but like my goal is to just ride. I'd like to knock out the first 200 miles in the first go, and just the longest I've ever ridden in one go is 190 miles. And so I'd really like to hit that 200 mile. And that's like really my only goal. I want to go 200 miles in one go of it. And then after that, it's just see what happens. But my goals are to finish and to do 200 miles at one solid go. And anything after that, I'll be happy with. Any closing thoughts, Brennan? If you're even working, if your internet's working.
I'm so sorry, guys. It's embarrassing. No, I'm just excited to see everybody. It's going to be an awesome party. It's going to be an awesome time. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I am too, man. This is a really good time. I'm beyond, just beyond like blown away by all the people that come, because it would be stupid to just like, if I'm just there, it doesn't mean anything. But, we get 200 other people that are like jazzed up on the same thing. We have that shared experience, and it's always so much fun. And I'm looking forward to it, and I'm nervous all at the same time. Getting up in front of like 200 people and like talking is like, I don't know. I mean, talking like right now is fine, right? But like getting up in front of like 200 people, that's scary.
Are we gonna all like fit in that space? It's like we're gonna be on the road.
You're gonna have to rope off the whole front of the parking lot and make a.
Okay.
Right.
I know. Yeah. We're gonna have to figure that out, man. The whole logistics for this year is gonna be different, and we're gonna have like a check-in station. We're gonna try to be more dialed. We have this year, I think we have like 8 volunteers, so we're trying. We're trying to like ramp up and like become like a real race. So it's time to take the training wheels off, and actually it's gone good. And honestly, it's been like intentional. Like I did 50 the first time, 100 the next time, 200 the next time, and being able to learn the same way every time you ride it, you're learning. I mean, every time we host one of these, we're learning and figuring out how to do it better. And so every year, hopefully it'll be a little bit better than the year before. And I'm really excited. I'm super excited about it. I think we got a lot of great people that are going to be there. And it's going to be fun to see what everybody does. Thank y'all so much for coming on. I genuinely appreciate y'all's input and your time coming and sharing your wisdom with the people out there, and look forward to seeing y'all all out there here in like 33 days.
33 days.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
All right.
All right. Bye, y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode, and a big shout out to our guest today, the East Texas Showdown professionals, Kuya, Brendan, and Emily, for coming in, lending their expertise, and of course their time. So as I said at the beginning of the episode, I'm going to address the participants of this year's East Texas Showdown. Going to go over a few things. First off, be sure to check your emails. Emily is doing a great job trying to get everybody organized and get everything done so that when we go to registration, everything will run smoothly and we won't run into any hiccups. So be on the lookout for her emails. We're looking to finalize GPS tracker, rental, and registration. This year, we're using Map Progress. They have some really cool features with their tracking, and so we're going to give them a shot. I've heard good things, and I want to try something new. So we're looking forward to giving them a shot this year. The other thing that we're emailing out about is the rigs of East Texas Showdown. This is one of the most popular blog posts that we put on the website every year. It's so cool to see all the bikes. It's so cool to see all the setups. So there is an email that has already gone out. I think she's sent out 2 emails about that already. The deadline to get those in is this Friday. So check your email, get all the instructions, get a picture taken, and send that in to us. We would love to feature your bike. We want to see it. We want to drool over it. And send them to us. Send us your damn bikes. All right, so let's talk about the routes. You know that we have 3 routes this year, the Lowdown, Slowdown, and Showdown. Here's the deal. The Lowdown and the Slowdown routes are finalized. You can go to easttexasshowdown.com. You can find the final route files. As far as I know, they will not change, so you can download those and put those in your bike computer with confidence. If you're doing the Showdown, I am going to have that route finalized at least a week before the event. I'm going to shoot for 2 weeks before the event, but somewhere in that 1 week to 2 week time period, I'm going to have that one finalized. I'm like 99.9% sure that it's good the way it is, but I just need to check a couple little things. And so, yeah, we're going to get that one finalized. Basically, what I'm going to do is, as I talked about on this episode, is I'm planning to do an ITT a couple weeks prior to the actual East Texas Showdown on the 400-mile route, and I'm going to ground truth it myself with me, my legs, and my bicycle. This concussion I got really threw a wrench into my plans, especially with training and getting behind in work and everything, and so I'm getting a little more nervous than I was, but we're going to give it a shot, see how it goes. So that's what's going on with the routes. Next up, rules. I got a question about the rules, and maybe we didn't post it anywhere. So let's review the rules really quick. And since we have 3 different routes this year, there are different rules. So here's the deal. The Showdown and the Slowdown, the 280 and the 400-mile route, are traditional bike pack racing, solo, self-supported rules. The same as the Tour Divide, the same as AZT, the same as Utah Mixed Epic. It is solo, self-supported. Do it yourself. To put it simply, well, that is putting it simply, but to elaborate on it a little bit, that means no drafting, no sharing tools, no sharing equipment, no having your significant other or friend come and camp with you one night to hang out and boost your spirits, whatever it is. It is solo self-supported. Everything you do is on your own. If your bike breaks, you fix it. If you're out of tubes, you hitchhike. That's the way it's going to go. Yeah, I hope that's pretty clear. And I apologize if we didn't do a good job of putting out the rules. And we'll do better next year. Now, the rules for the Lowdown are different. The Lowdown is a ride. It's not a race. You can do it any way you want to. You can share camping equipment with a partner. You can share tools. You can draft. You can do whatever you want. Just go ride your damn bike. Enjoy what I hope will be good weather. I know the route's good. I rode it in October. It's a great route. You're going to love it. But no rules, just good times on your bike. One more note on the Lowdown. I mentioned it at the top of the episode, but just want to remind everybody that Bikes or Death is going to be hosting a bike packing party in the woods for all of the Lowdown riders on Friday night. We are going to be at Ratcliffe Lake Recreational Area. That Friday night, we have Pine and Plow that has donated some beer, and we have Ruby Coffee has donated some coffee, and we're going to just hang out in the woods, have a bonfire, shoot the shit, tell some lies, and have a good time. And you don't have to make it to Ratcliffe. Ideally, we'd like to have 3 designated campsites where we have like 3 different parties, but we just weren't able to make it happen this year. So this year we have 1 campsite that's at Ratcliffe, which is at mile 76 on the route. So that is almost exactly halfway marker. Again, that's not mandatory. Maybe that's a goal that you want to shoot for. You can camp wherever you want to, but if you want to join in the festivities, we're going to be there. And we've already reserved campsites. We think we have enough for everybody. We sent out a poll to all the Lowdown participants, and we should have enough for everybody. And if we don't, we'll make room. We'll figure it out. All right, next up is parking. We're getting a lot of questions about parking, and, really, we haven't completely figured out the parking situation. I've been working with Chris over at the Bullet Grill, and he's supposed to get me a parking plan. Last year, if you were there, we had a 5-acre area that was cleared out behind the Bullet Grill. And so my thought right now is that we're going to be packing people into that back lot like sardines. So if you're planning on camping, we're essentially going to give you a spot for your car, and you can sleep in your car, you can sleep at the foot of your car, but you're basically going to have a small footprint to work with, and we're just going to slot in as many cars back there as we can, and then from there we'll go overflow into the parking lot. And we're more than doubling from last year, and so it really is a learning on the job. I mean, we can come in with the best laid plans, and it could go wrong. We really feel like we're going to be able to accommodate everybody there at the Bullet, but just be prepared to work with us. We'll have parking lot attendants and we'll try to help. We're going to figure it out as we go, and we're going to pack you all in there. So just be prepared to figure that out with us. And yeah, one way or another, we'll find a spot for you. Okay, one last note about the GPS rental and registration. Like I mentioned, if you haven't registered your device, if you haven't signed up with Map Progress yet, please go ahead and do that. It'll make Emily not stress out as much. She likes things organized and taken care of and know that everything is done, and that's her job, and she's great at it. So help her out and get that done if you would. And so with the GPS, here's the deal. For the Slowdown and the Showdown, GPS tracking and map progress is required. For the Lowdown, it's not required, but if you would like to, you can absolutely register a device and sign it up. The route is on Map Progress. The Lowdown route is on there. So if you want to do it for fun or for safety, that option is available to you, but because it's just a ride, it's not mandatory. So that is at your own discretion. All right, well, the last thing I wanted to touch on was the awards for this year. This was Emily's idea. I absolutely loved it. As soon as I heard it, I was like, yes, let's do it. So here's what we're going to do. For the Slowdown and the Showdown, well, for the Showdown, we have sheriff's badges. So they say sheriff at the top, say East Texas Showdown, and then the year, and they have a star in the middle, and the star is blank. And so I think it would be cool if like you could like engrave your time on there. So we have a gold, silver, and bronze sheriff badges for the top men and women Showdown finishers, and we have deputy badges for the top men and women Slowdown finishers. And we even will have probably some kind of induction ceremony or something like this. So I think we've born a new East Texas Showdown tradition. I think we're going to start deputizing and sheriffing. I don't know what that word is, y'all. And yeah, it gives you something to look forward to. If you get a deputy this year, next year, maybe you can be a sheriff. So good times at the East Texas Showdown. And another fun one is Todd Nisbet. If you don't know Todd, he's always the most well-dressed. He knows how to come to a bike race in style. Well, he works at Stan Ray, which is a clothing company, and they are sponsoring a new award for this year, which is the best dressed. And this could go to anyone in any event. I'm not going to have anything to do with it. Todd is going to figure it out. He is going to, and of course he's the only person that could do this. Todd is going to tell us who is the best dressed besides himself. He can't award it to himself. And they're going to win something from Stan Ray, which is cool. And we also have some cool stuff coming with the raffle prizes. So check this out. Woom Bikes last year gave away one kid bike to a parent that was racing in the event. This year, they are tripling their donation, and here's what we're going to do. We are giving one bike away to a mother who participates. We're giving another bike away to a father who participates, and then we're going to raffle off a whole nother bike from Woom. But wait, there's more. My new bike sponsor, Panorama, is also going to be donating a bike that we're going to raffle off. They're waiting on their inventory to figure out exactly what bike we're going to get, but they're going to be giving us a bike to raffle off. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We went hard on raffle items this year, and we got some great support from some great companies. And so it's going to be a good time. Looking forward to giving away some bikes, man. How cool is that? So you can race this dang thing, and then you can come and maybe win yourself a brand new bike. All right. Well, I think I've chatted long enough. I'm sure I've forgot some things, but you know how to get a hold of me. If you have any questions, we are getting down to the wire. We're going to be continuing to provide updates, mostly through email. If you're registered for this year's event, make sure you're checking your emails. We'll try to post stuff on social media and stuff too to make it more visible, but really email is the best way. So be on the lookout for that. And man, it's only 30 days away, so y'all better be training, all right? Until next week, you know what to do. Go ride your damn bike.
It was the middle of the night. You grabbed your knife and you held it tight. The sounds of beasts kept you awake. The sounds they made kept you afraid. In the morning, you packed your bike. Memories forgotten from the previous night. You rode faster than ever before. Was it your imagination or merely folklore? Fear turned into strength as you pushed further. Every pedal stroke stronger and firmer. Your bike feels weightless, your legs aren't tired. You think to yourself, just a few more miles. Bikes or death. Bikes